Hello, folks, and welcome to the Democratizing SEO podcast, a podcast for marketers who seek to have a better understanding of the SEO channel in order to engage with it more successfully. My name is Austine Esezobor. I am an SEO consultant and your host for this podcast. Let me ask you something. How quickly do you implement technical SEO recommendations when you receive them? Think about this for a moment. Let's call it your implementation rate. What is your SEO implementation rate right now? What if I told you that the ability to implement technical SEO recommendations have a clear impact on your site's ability to rank and rank highly for the keywords you target? What would you do? There are many barriers you'll need to face and get through before your site is able to rank highly for your targeted keywords. One of these barriers shows up immediately after receiving technical SEO recommendations. What typically happens after you've received technical SEO recs? You have the identified issues and solutions to them, right? You get the dev department involved and possibly even the content editors or website managers. You have all the intention in the world to implement the recommended solutions. But then you're hit with the realization that solving the issues in reality is different to how it seems on paper. On paper, the solutions are clear. They're rather straightforward. When you attempt to work on them, you're faced with having to deal with other, bigger, unforeseen issues, which SEO has just uncovered. It almost seems as though SEO creates more problems, doesn't it? Tackling the unforeseen issues just to appease SEO almost doesn't seem worth it, does it? So what happens? Tech SEO issues are left unresolved, put to the side. They're left unactioned, almost as though the importance of SEO is not known throughout your business. Let me tell you this. Being able to implement technical SEO issues quickly will determine how fast you're able to rank highly for the keywords that you target. The reality to optimization, something that doesn't get talked about often enough in the industry, is that your competition in the SERPs starts a long way away from the SERPs. If we look at attaining the number one spot as a race, the race doesn't begin from when you're outside of the top 10, or when you're in position 50, or even when you're outside of the top 100. It begins internally. It begins within your business. It begins with your ability to implement your SEO recommendations. And tech SEO recs typically ends up being the biggest hurdle for you to go over. There is a reason why technical SEO is the foundation pillar of SEO. You see, just as you have challenges internally with your SEO, your competitors face the same kind of challenges. The race to the top, if we were to look at it this way for a little while longer, begins from the point where your tech issues are uncovered by SEO. That's the starting point. That's the point where the race begins. If this is the case, how far do you think you'll go when you put tech SEO implementations to the side? How fast do you think you'll go? What are the chances that you'll reach the number one spot when it takes you weeks, months, or even years to begin that journey? How quickly do you implement tech SEO recommendations? Technical SEO, you see, is a special pillar. It's the most important pillar of SEO. It's closely linked to your entire website. A technical issue on a section of your site doesn't just affect that section, it affects the entire website. Failing to give the pillar the commitment it deserves, it's like not having a website even. How do you expect Google to find you when you don't have a website even? How do you expect to acquire traffic when you don't have a website even? How do you expect to rank when you don't have a website even? This is the hard reality of SEO that you have to face. You have to face it just like all other brands that have a website have to face it. How do you expect to outperform your competitors when they're constantly making iterations to their sites by implementing SEO recommendations and you are not? It doesn't add up, does it? The time you have spent on SEO implementations may not reflect that of a brand who is interested in being in the number one spot for the keywords that they are targeting. And believe you me, you can tell how ready a brand is to reach the number one spot for their chosen set of keywords. There is a very simple question that you can ask yourself to determine whether or not you're ready to claim the number one spot. Let me pose it to you. How much time have you spent in implementing tech SEO recommendations? This one question right here will give you a gauge of where you are in your SEO journey. All brands, and I mean all brands that have a website, have had to face a question as such. And they've had to ask themselves whether they want to compete in the SERPs and show potential users, as well as Google, that they are the best, most appropriate site for the keywords that they are targeting. And by way of their optimization, show that no other site is worthy of being in that much coveted number one position. They've had to ask themselves whether they want this acclaim or whether to simply close up shop and call it a day. So let me leave you with this question to ponder. How much time do you spend implementing your tech SEO recommendations? All right, folks, let's leave it there for now. Stay tuned for more from Democratizing SEO. Subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on your podcasting app of choice. All right, folks, my name is Austine Esezobor. I'm an SEO guy. I'll be with you on a weekly basis to enlighten you on wielding SEO to success. That'll do it for now, folks. Until next time, bye for now.